I woke up wearing someone else's wedding dress. The fabric was traditional Apache buckskin, intricate beadwork across the bodice, fringe that moved when I breathed. My hands looked wrong in it. Too pale. Too soft. Like they belonged to someone playing dress-up in a dead woman's clothes. Because that's exactly what I was doing. I didn't know that yet. Not consciously. But my body knew. The dress fit perfectly, broken in by someone else's shape. The moccasins on my feet had worn grooves that didn't match my stride. Even the turquoise necklace felt warm, as if removed from another throat moments before being placed on mine. The ceremony had happened 3 hours ago. I remembered fragments. A missionary reading words I didn't process. An Apache warrior beside me whose name I'd learned that morning. Dakota. 28 years old. Widower. That last detail delivered casually, like it didn't matter. I didn't remember agreeing to any of it. The Indian agent, Matthews, had explained it quickly the day before. There'd been a mistake with my teaching contract. A clerical error. I could return east in disgrace, or I could solve everyone's problem by accepting a proposal that had already been made. Dakota needed a wife. The tribe wanted stronger ties to the agency. I needed legitimacy. It was practical. It was sudden. It was my only option. Matthews made it sound like I was the solution to a problem. What he didn't say was that I was the replacement for one. The cabin I'd been brought to after the ceremony was small, neat, and full of things that weren't mine. Women's things. A hairbrush with long black strands still tangled in the bristles. Dried herbs hanging in bundles I didn't recognize. A second dress folded carefully in a wooden chest, sized for someone smaller than me. Dakota stood by the door, looking at me like I was a mistake someone had delivered to the wrong address. "You'll sleep there," he said in careful English, pointing to the separated sleeping area. "I stay here." His voice was flat, controlled, the kind of control that comes from holding back something dangerous. "Did you ask for this?" I said. "Did you want to marry me?" His jaw tightened. "Did you?" We stared at each other. Two strangers bound by words neither of us had initiated, each waiting for the other to confess to wanting this. Neither of us did. "Matthews said you proposed," I told him. "That you needed a white wife for protection." Something flickered across Dakota's face. Surprise, then understanding. Then cold rage directed somewhere beyond me. "He told me you were pregnant," Dakota said quietly. "That you needed a husband quickly before the scandal destroyed you. That you'd chosen me because I was convenient." The lie landed between us like a stone. Matthews had lied to us both, told each of us the other had initiated it, made sure we'd resent each other from the beginning. But why? Before I could ask, the door opened. An elderly Apache woman entered without knocking, carrying a basket. She spoke rapidly in Apache, looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. Not hostile, not welcoming. Something else. Measuring. Dakota responded in Apache. The woman's eyes narrowed. She set the basket down and left without another word. "What did she say?" I asked. "She brought supplies, food, blankets." "That's not what I asked." Dakota turned away. "She said the dress fits you well. That Aayita's things should not go to waste." Aayita. A name. The first one. Who was Aayita? "My wife," Dakota said. "She died 6 weeks ago." The dress suddenly felt suffocating. 6 weeks. The body barely cold, and I was wearing her clothes, sleeping in her bed, standing in her home like some kind of vulture. "How did she die?" "Fever," Dakota said. But his tone suggested the answer was incomplete, possibly untrue. "Why didn't you tell me?" I demanded. "Why didn't Matthews mention this?" "Why would he?" Dakota replied. "You are here to replace her. What difference does it make if you know her name?" Replace her. The words confirmed what my body had already sensed. This wasn't a new marriage. It was a continuation. A gap being filled. I wasn't Emily Carter, school teacher. I was Aayita's substitute, selected because her death had created an inconvenient vacancy. "I won't do this," I said. "I'll tell Matthews the marriage is invalid, that we were deceived." "And then what?" Dakota asked. You return east with no references, no prospects, accused of moral failings that will follow you forever? I lose agency protection and become target for every officer who believes natives should be removed entirely. We both know what he'll do if we refuse to play his game. He was right. Matthews had engineered this perfectly. We could suffer together or be destroyed separately. Those were the options. So we just pretend, I said. We survive, Dakota corrected. Everything else is negotiable. That night I lay in Aayita's bed, wearing Aayita's nightdress, staring at ceiling beams Aayita had stared at for however many years she'd lived here before dying. The mattress had a depression where someone smaller had slept. The pillow smelled faintly of sage, and something sweeter I couldn't identify. I tried not to think about what had killed her. Fever, Dakota said. But fevers had causes: bad water, infected wounds, diseases brought by white settlers that native bodies couldn't fight. Or something else. The thought arrived unwelcome. What if it wasn't sickness? What if Aayita's death had been convenient for someone? What if this entire situation, her death, my sudden marriage, the lies Matthews told, was connected? I pushed the thought away. That was paranoia. Grief-driven conspiracy thinking. But the dress fit too perfectly. The timing was too precise. And Dakota's face when he'd said fever had held too many shadows. The next morning I discovered my teaching contract had been modified. I would continue at the school, but now I'd report directly to Matthews 3 times weekly. He wanted information, details about the Apache community, who spoke against agency policies, who might be planning resistance. He wanted me to spy on my husband's people. Consider it part of your marital duties, Matthews said with a smile that made my skin crawl. You're part of the tribe now. You have access. Use it wisely, and your position remains secure. Refuse, and I'll have to question whether your marriage was legitimate, whether certain improprieties occurred before the ceremony that would invalidate it entirely. The threat was clear. Cooperate or be destroyed. I returned to the cabin shaking with rage. Dakota was there, preparing food with the mechanical precision of someone going through familiar motions while thinking about something else entirely. Matthews wants me to inform on the tribe, I said, to report on everything I see and hear. Dakota didn't look surprised. Of course he does. Why else would he force this marriage? He needs an informant inside the community. Someone who can access places he cannot. I won't do it. Then he'll destroy you, and use that destruction to justify harsher policies against everyone here. Dakota set down the knife he'd been using. This is what Matthews does. He creates impossible situations and watches people tear themselves apart trying to escape. There has to be another way. There isn't, Dakota said. But we can control what information he receives. You report only what we want him to know. Truths that don't matter mixed with lies that serve our purposes. It took me a moment to understand. You want me to be his spy, but actually, be yours. I want us to survive with our souls intact, Dakota corrected. Everything else is tactics. Over the next week, I learned to navigate the strange territory of being Aayita's replacement. The Apache women watched me with expressions I couldn't interpret. Not hostile. Not welcoming. Just watching. Waiting for something. One of them, an elder named Desba, finally spoke to me. In halting English, she said, "You wear her dress. You sleep in her place. You walk where she walked. But you are not her." "I know," I said. "I never wanted to be." "Good," Desba replied. "Because she is not finished." "What does that mean?" But Desba had already turned away, leaving me with more questions than answers. That night, I asked Dakota about it. Desba said Aayita isn't finished. What did she mean? Dakota's hands stilled over the leather he'd been working. The marriage ceremony was incomplete when Aayita died. There are rituals, promises made to the spirits. She died before they could be fulfilled. What kind of rituals? The kind that bind 2 people together for protection, for strength, for continuation of the family line. He paused. When she died before completion, it left an opening, something unfinished that must be finished. And I'm supposed to finish it? I said. Complete a ritual for a dead woman? You are supposed to take her place entirely, Dakota said quietly. That is why Matthews chose you. Why the timing was so precise. The council decreed that the ritual must be completed before the next full moon, or there would be consequences for the entire tribe. Matthews knew this. He used it. The full moon was in 2 weeks. What consequences? I asked. Bad fortune. Failed harvests. Illness. Whether you believe in such things doesn't matter. The council believes. The tribe believes. And if the ritual isn't completed, they will blame you. So I either complete a ritual binding me to a dead woman's unfinished business, or I become responsible for every bad thing that happens to your people. Yes, Dakota said simply. That's insane. That's tradition, and Matthews knows exactly how to weaponize tradition against us. I wanted to argue, to say this was superstition, manipulation, absurdity. But looking at Dakota's face, I saw something that stopped me. Not belief in spirits or rituals, but belief in consequences. He knew what would happen if the tribe decided I'd brought bad fortune. He knew how quickly scapegoating could turn deadly. Tell me what the ritual requires, I said. Dakota shook his head. Not yet. First you need to understand who Aayita was, what she meant to this community, what you're actually replacing. Over the following days, I learned. Aayita had been a healer, a mediator, someone who knew how to navigate between Apache tradition and white demands. She'd been teaching the children herself before I arrived, helping them learn English while preserving their own language. She'd been the one who convinced the council to accept the agency school, arguing it was better to control the education than to have children taken away entirely. She'd been important, essential even. And now I was expected to fill that role with none of her knowledge, none of her relationships, none of her carefully built trust. Why did she die? I asked Desba during one of my visits to the women's area. Dakota said fever, but there's something he's not saying. Desba studied me for a long moment. You want truth? Or comfortable lie? Truth. Aayita did not want to complete the ritual, Desba said. She believed it was wrong. That binding herself so completely to Dakota would erase her own spirit. She argued with the council, with the elders, with Dakota himself. And then she became ill. Very suddenly. Very conveniently. My blood went cold. You think someone poisoned her? I think, Desba said carefully, that some people believe tradition is more important than individual choice. And I think Aayita knew this, knew what would happen if she continued refusing. She tried to run 3 days before she died. We found her at the canyon edge, preparing to leave. By morning, she was fevered. 2 days later, she was dead. Who found her? I whispered. Dakota, Desba said. He brought her back, swore to the council he would ensure the ritual was completed, that he would find a replacement if necessary. The implications crashed over me. Dakota had brought Aayita back, had been there when she sickened, had agreed to find a replacement before she was even buried. Had he killed her? That night, I couldn't look at him. Every movement he made seemed threatening. Every silence felt calculated. He'd been so quick to explain Matthew's manipulation, so ready with tactical suggestions. What if that was just another layer of control? You're afraid of me now, Dakota said finally. I didn't deny it. Desba told you, he continued, about Aayita's death, about my role in it. Did you kill her? I asked directly. No, Dakota said. But I didn't save her either. And in some ways, that's worse. He moved to the window, looking out at darkness. Aayita came to me 3 months before she died. Said she couldn't complete the ritual, that it would destroy something essential in her. She wanted my support to refuse, to face the council together and find another way. What did you do? I told her the tribe needed this, Dakota said quietly. That tradition protected us, that individual desires mattered less than communal survival. I believed I was right. I believed I was protecting our people. And then? Then she tried to run. I found her. Brought her back. Tried to convince her to accept what had to be. We argued, she said. He stopped. She said she'd rather die than become what the ritual required. I thought she was being dramatic. Exaggerating. But she meant it literally. I don't know, Dakota admitted. She became ill the next day. Maybe it was natural. Maybe it was induced. Maybe she poisoned herself rather than submit. I'll never know. But I watched her die, and I knew I'd helped kill her by not listening, by choosing tradition over her life. So you agreed to find a replacement, I said, to finish what she refused to finish. I agreed because the alternative was admitting I'd failed her for nothing, Dakota replied. If the ritual went uncompleted, her death would be meaningless. But if I could find someone else, someone willing, then at least... He trailed off. You could pretend you'd been right all along, I finished. Yes. We sat in silence. I should have been terrified, should have been planning escape. But instead I felt something unexpected. Understanding. Not forgiveness, not trust, but recognition of how people make terrible choices while believing they're necessary. Matthews knew all of this, I said. About the ritual, about the timing, about how desperate the council would be for a replacement. Yes, Dakota confirmed. Which means he has a source inside the tribe, someone reporting to him. And that's what he really wants, I realized. Not just information from me. He wants to confirm his existing informant. See if my reports match what he's already hearing. If they don't, he knows one of us is lying. Which means we need to discover who's reporting to him, Dakota said. Before the ritual, before we're completely trapped in this situation. The full moon was 10 days away. In that time, we had to identify Matthew's informant, decide whether to complete a ritual that might have killed the last woman who attempted it, and somehow avoid being destroyed by forces on all sides. Would you stay silent if speaking up meant losing everything? Would you complete a ritual designed to erase you? Drop a comment and tell me what you'd do. The next morning, I discovered someone had left a gift outside our door. A bundle of dried sage and something else wrapped in cloth. When I unwrapped it, I found a small leather pouch containing what looked like herbs. Don't touch that, Dakota said sharply, appearing behind me. He wrapped the bundle carefully and took it inside. This is what killed Aayita. How do you know? Because I found the same bundle in her medicine bag after she died, he said. I didn't know what it was then. I do now. Someone is sending a message. What kind of message? Complete the ritual, or die like she did. The threat was clear. I was trapped between completing a ritual I didn't understand and being poisoned by someone who wanted it completed. The full moon countdown suddenly felt much more urgent. We need to identify who left this, I said. We need to survive the next 10 days, Dakota corrected. I started paying attention to everything. Who watched me? Who avoided me? Who seemed too interested in whether I'd learned about the ritual yet? The Apache community was small enough that everyone knew everyone, but large enough that motives remained hidden. Matthews called me in for my first report. I gave him exactly what Dakota and I had prepared. True, but useless information about harvest planning and children's education. Matthews listened with an expression suggesting he was comparing my words to something else. Interesting, he said finally. My other source tells a different story. What other source? Matthews smiled. Come now, Mrs. Dakota. You don't think you're my only window into the community? I like redundancy, confirmation, and right now, your reports don't match theirs. Maybe your other source is lying, I said. Or maybe you are, Matthews replied. Which is fine. Expected even. But it does raise questions about your commitment to our arrangement. He pulled out a document. This is testimony from 3 witnesses claiming they saw you and Dakota alone together before the marriage, in compromising positions. If I file this, the marriage becomes invalid. You become a woman of questionable virtue, and your teaching position ends immediately. That's fabricated, I said. Is it? Matthews asked. Or is it just a different version of truth? Reality is so subjective, isn't it? The threat was clear. give him useful information, or be destroyed by manufactured scandal. When I returned to the cabin, I found Desba waiting. She looked frightened. "Someone took my granddaughter," she said. "Took her 3 hours ago. Left a message saying she'll be returned when you show commitment to the ritual. When you prove you'll complete what Aayita refused." "Who took her?" "I don't know. But they knew exactly what to say to make me come to you. They knew about Aayita's refusal. About the ritual. About everything." Dakota appeared in the doorway. "This is escalating faster than expected. Someone wants the ritual completed desperately enough to kidnap a child." "Or Matthews is using this to force my compliance," I said. "Kidnap a child. Make it look like tribal pressure. Force me to either complete the ritual or refuse and have the tribe turn against me entirely." "Which serves his purposes either way," Dakota finished. "If you complete it, you're bound here permanently. If you refuse, the tribe blames you for the child and any other misfortune. Either way, you're isolated and desperate." We had 8 days until the full moon, a kidnapped child, multiple forces pushing from different directions, and a ritual that might kill me if I attempted it. "Tell me what the ritual actually requires," I said to Dakota. "Everything. No more partial truths." Dakota and Desba exchanged glances. Then Desba spoke. "The ritual binds 2 spirits together for protection, but the binding requires sacrifice. The wife must offer something essential, something that defines her. For most women, this is symbolic. A lock of hair, a cherished object. But the ritual leaves the choice to the woman herself. And some women." She paused. "Some women interpret it differently." "How did Aayita interpret it?" I asked. "She believed it required her to sacrifice her autonomy," Desba said. "Her ability to make independent choices. To become completely bound to Dakota's will, to tribal needs, to communal demands. She saw it as spiritual death. Was she right?" "The ritual is what you make of it," Desba said. "But Aayita was a healer, a teacher, a leader. For her, losing autonomy meant losing everything that made her essential to the community. She chose death over that loss." I understood now. The ritual wasn't inherently murderous. But for someone like Aayita, someone whose power came from independence and knowledge, it represented complete erasure. And she'd refused that erasure even if it cost her life. The question was, would I? "If I complete the ritual," I said slowly, "offering something symbolic rather than essential, does that satisfy tradition?" "It satisfies the form," Desba acknowledged, "but not necessarily the spirit. Some will say you cheated, that you didn't truly commit, that bad fortune will follow." "And if bad fortune does follow?" I asked. "Whose fault will it be?" "Yours," Dakota said bluntly. "Always yours. That's how this works." I looked at both of them. "So I'm trapped. Complete the ritual superficially and risk being blamed for every bad thing after. Complete it fully and lose myself entirely. Refuse and become responsible for a kidnapped child and whatever else goes wrong." "Yes," Desba confirmed. "Then we need a 4th option," I said. "We need to expose whoever is actually causing these problems. Show the tribe that the bad fortune isn't spiritual, it's manufactured by someone with an agenda." "In 8 days?" Dakota said skeptically. "In 8 days," I confirmed. We started with the kidnapping. Desba's granddaughter Casa was 7 years old. She'd been taken from near the creek where children often played. No one had seen who took her. But someone had left a message written in English on a piece of agency paper. The ritual must be completed. English. Agency paper. This wasn't tribal pressure. This was Matthews or someone working with him. "Who has access to agency supplies?" I asked Dakota. "The staff. The traders. Anyone who visits regularly." He paused. "And anyone the agency employs as informants." We needed to identify Matthews' informant. I had an idea. That afternoon I visited Matthews again. "I'll complete the ritual," I told him. "But I need assurances. Protection for my teaching position regardless of what happens after." Matthews looked pleased. See? Cooperation makes everything easier. What changed your mind? Someone left me a gift, I said. A bundle of herbs. The same ones that killed Aayita. I decided I'd rather live. I watched his face carefully. If he knew about the herbs, he'd react. If he didn't, he'd be confused. He didn't react at all. Just nodded as if this information confirmed something he already knew. Smart choice, Matthews said. Complete the ritual. Make the tribe happy. And continue providing me with useful information. Everyone wins. Except Aayita, I said. Aayita made her choice, Matthews replied. You're making yours. That's how survival works. I left feeling certain. Matthews knew about the herbs, about the threat, possibly even about the kidnapping. But he hadn't arranged it directly. Someone else was doing his work for him. That night, Dakota and I laid a trap. We let it be known, quietly, to carefully selected people, that I decided to refuse the ritual, that I was planning to leave the reservation entirely with Matthew's help, that I'd rather abandon everything than be bound by Apache tradition. Then we waited to see who would react. The reaction came at midnight. Someone tried to enter the cabin through the window. Dakota caught them, a young Apache man named Nidus, barely 20, who worked as a translator for the agency. Why did you come? Dakota demanded. Nidus struggled briefly, then stopped. The agent told me to watch you, to report if she tried to leave, he said. He swallowed. He said if she refused the ritual, the tribe would need to understand what that meant, that I should help them understand. By doing what? I asked. Making it clear that refusal has consequences, Nidus said. He gave me the herbs, told me how to prepare them, said if she drank tea made from them, she'd sicken just like Aayita, and the tribe would know that rejecting tradition brings death. There it was. Confirmation. Matthews had killed Aayita, or caused her death, when she refused to complete the ritual. And he was preparing to do the same to me if I proved uncooperative. Where is Desba's granddaughter? Dakota asked. I don't know, Nidus said. I didn't take her. Maybe the agent did. Or maybe... He stopped. Maybe who? I pressed. Maybe Elder Chaska, Nidus admitted. He's the one who told Matthews about the ritual in the first place, about the deadline, about how important it was. He wanted Matthews' help ensuring it was completed. Chaska, a tribal elder working with Matthews. The pieces fell into place. Chaska believed in tradition, absolutely. When Aayita refused to complete the ritual, he'd arranged for Matthews to eliminate her and provide a replacement who would comply. And when I seemed likely to refuse, he'd arranged pressure, kidnapping his own community's child, to force my cooperation. Tradition had become a weapon, and both Chaska and Matthews were wielding it. We need to find Casa, I said, before the full moon, before this goes any further. Dakota bound Nidus and left him with Desba's brother. Then we went searching. If Chaska had taken the child, he'd keep her somewhere close, somewhere he could monitor, somewhere that appeared safe while being completely under his control. The ceremonial lodge, where the ritual would take place, where Chaska would have access without raising questions. We found Casa there, unharmed but frightened, locked in a storage room. She ran to Dakota, sobbing. We got her out quietly and returned her to Desba. Then we called a council meeting. In front of the assembled elders and community members, I told them everything. About Matthew's lies, about the forced marriage, about Nidus working as informant, about Chaska collaborating with the agent, about Aayita being poisoned when she refused to comply. Chaska denied everything. This woman lies to avoid her obligations, to escape the ritual she knows she must complete. Then explain why Casa was in the ceremonial lodge, Dakota said. Explain why Nidus confesses you worked with Matthews. Explain why you never questioned a white woman replacing Aayita so conveniently. I acted to preserve tradition, Chaska said. Aayita's refusal threatened us all. Her death, whether natural or earned, protected the community. And this woman's compliance will do the same. By poisoning anyone who disagrees? I asked. By collaborating with an agent who wants to destroy Apache autonomy? That's not tradition, That's murder disguised as piety. The council erupted in argument. Some defended Chaska, others demanded answers. The community split between those who valued tradition above all else, and those who recognized manipulation when they saw it. Two Bears, the eldest and most respected council member, finally called for silence. "This woman speaks truth," he said. "Chaska has betrayed us, not by preserving tradition, but by letting a white agent weaponize tradition against us. Aayita died because she questioned. This woman nearly died for the same reason. How many more will die before we recognize that tradition used as weapon is no longer tradition?" "Then what is it?" Chaska demanded. "Tyranny," Two Bears replied. "And we will not accept it, not from Matthews, not from you." The council voted. Chaska was removed from leadership. Nidus was exiled pending full investigation, and the ritual was declared optional, to be completed only if both parties fully consented without coercion or threat. Matthews' entire scheme collapsed. Without his informant, without tribal pressure, without the threat of ritual-related death, he had no leverage. When I next visited his office, he was packing. "You've destroyed months of work," he said bitterly. "I survived months of manipulation," I corrected. "There's a difference." "You think this changes anything?" Matthews asked. "Another agent will come. Another scheme will be created. The government will take what it wants from these people regardless of your small victory." "Maybe," I agreed. "But they'll take it knowing we fight back. That we expose manipulation. That we don't accept lies just because they're dressed as tradition, or policy, or inevitability." Matthews left 3 days later. The ritual deadline passed without consequence. No bad fortune, no divine punishment. Just life continuing as it always had. Difficult, constrained, but not determined by lies anymore. Dakota and I remained married. Not because tradition demanded it. Not because anyone forced us. But because we'd fought together, and survived together, and built something real from foundations of deception. "Do you regret it?" I asked him one evening, months later. "Everything that happened?" "I regret Aayita," Dakota said. "I regret not listening when she tried to tell me the ritual was wrong. I regret choosing tradition over her life." He paused. "But I don't regret you. What we've become. That's the one good thing Matthew's manipulation created." I understood. The marriage had been built on lies. But we'd chosen to stay after the lies were exposed. That choice mattered. 2 years later, I still taught at the school. The children called me Teacher Emily, not Aayita's replacement. Dakota worked with the new agent, not collaborating, but negotiating. We had a life. Complicated, imperfect, but ours. Desba visited one afternoon, bringing fresh bread. "You never completed the ritual," she observed. "No," I confirmed, "and yet you stayed." "I stayed because I wanted to, not because tradition demanded it, not because anyone threatened me, because I chose Dakota and this life freely." Desba smiled. "Then perhaps you completed it after all. Just not the way anyone expected." Maybe she was right. The ritual had been about binding two spirits together, about sacrifice and commitment. I'd sacrificed nothing essential, but I'd committed everything freely. That seemed more powerful than any ceremonial requirement could have been. Sometimes the most powerful act of defiance is choosing the thing they tried to force on you. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because you've made it yours through choice rather than coercion. I woke up married to an Apache warrior. I was supposed to replace a dead woman, complete a ritual she refused, die if I didn't comply. Instead, I exposed the people using tradition as a weapon, refused to be erased, and built a life that belonged to me rather than to anyone's expectations or demands. The dress still hangs in the cabin. Aayita's dress. Sometimes I wear it. Not because I'm replacing her, but because she deserves to be remembered. The woman who chose death over erasure, who refused to let tradition destroy her autonomy, even when it cost her everything. I survived by refusing to make her same choice, by finding a way to honor tradition without being consumed by it, by creating something new from the ashes of manipulation and lies. If this story kept you watching until the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Would you have completed the ritual to survive, Or refused even if it meant death? Tell me in the comments what choice you'd make.